This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome to the Monday Mashup. It is December 10th, I think, 2019. Coming off one of the wackiest NFL Sundays in recent memory, I, of course, am your host, Shea with the Monday Mashup, Detroit Sports Podcast on Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Happy to be here, as always, after what was, for me, as you all know, diehard Patriots fan here, brutal NFL Sunday. If you're a Lions fan, I think it was probably a pretty brutal NFL Sunday for you, too, because they won when they weren't supposed to, which is like the most classic Lions thing to do, is show your ass all season. And then when you're supposed to lose and tank for picks, you just start winning games, and now they're going to ruin their draft stock. New York Giants fans can relate. But yeah, I like I've said on the last couple shows, if you've listened to them, I'm not interested in doing a lot of Lions talk. I'm not interested in getting on here and doing the same old Matthew Stafford stinks, the same old blah, blah, organization sucks, ownership sucks. We all know it. And if I say it, like, I'm not going to be able to do anything about it. So I'm not really interested. If you want the same old Lions blah, blah bullshit talk, you can do that on your car radios on your drive to work. You can just tune into local sports talk and you'll get it. But I have no interest in doing that here. None. And honestly, I didn't want to talk NFL really at all today. I have an NBA power rank coming that has a big surprise in the top three. I think it might be a little, I don't know. I guess I'd like feedback from it in a one way, like Twitter at Detroit Podcast, if you want to go that route, or at Norling Shea at me. But I have an NBA power rank coming that I think is interesting, a little bit surprising maybe. And after what I saw on the field, New England, Miami, I had to do NFL because I figured, look, podcasts are podcasts and they're on demand. And if you don't like what you're listening to, you can skip it. And if you do like what you're listening to, you don't have to. And I think for a guy who gets seen as, like, obviously I'm a Patriots fan, I'm a Celtics fan, I'm a Boston sports guy, right? I fell in love with the city at a really young age. I had family that lived there. I would visit there. I fell in love with the city. I fell in love with the teams. And honestly, a bit of an escape from being in Detroit. And it's a city where I would love to end up. I fell in love with it at a young age. And I think some of my takes on here as far as Boston sports are concerned could be considered homerisms. And I kind of want to go the opposite route, because what I saw on the field, New England, Miami, disgusted me. So if you're not interested in that, you can skip ahead to the NBA stuff. If you are, cool. I'm going to touch on some other NBA aspects or NFL aspects, but mostly I want to talk about what I saw on the field today, New England and Miami, because there's like an age-old question if you're an NFL fan. Doesn't matter if you're a Patriots fan. Doesn't matter if you're a Lions fan. Doesn't matter what team you're a fan of, right? There's an age-old question in the NFL where people look at the New England Patriots. They look at this dynasty that has been incredible in a league that specializes in parity, in a league that specializes in punishing teams that are good, right? Like, if you're a good team, you get a championship schedule. If you're a good team, you get a bad draft pick. If you're a good team, all these other aspects where if you are a good team, the NFL goes, look, next year you're going to pay for that. It's a league that's built to punish greatness, and yet the Patriots exist. So the age-old question from that is, look, the entire Patriots dynasty, there have been exactly two consistencies, quarterback and head coach. You cannot have one without the other. And I'm not here to dispute that they make each other better. I absolutely believe that that's true. Brady makes Belichick better. Belichick makes Brady better. But the age-old question is, who made whom, right? Everybody asks. Everybody goes, and maybe it's not everybody. Maybe it's like me and a select group of Boston sports fans, or the national media guys, the Cowards, the Skip Baylesses of the world, the Stephen A. Smiths, that'll come out and they'll, well, if Brady played on a different team, would he be as good as he has been in New England? Or if he had a different head coach? Or if Belichick never had Brady, would Belichick be what he is? Because you look at where he was before Brady, and the records aren't crazy impressive, and all this other like this stuff where he got fired from a couple, and you look at Belichick pre-Brady, not great, just honestly not great. But then people go, but he has the all-time greatest winning percentage, all these Super Bowls, all this playoff records, all this stuff. Belichick is an all-time coach. There's no debating that. But the question becomes, who made whom? At the end of the day, who made whom? Who is more responsible for the Patriots dynasty? Is it Brady or is it Belichick? And honest to God, I think we got that question answered today. Because, and I love Bill Belichick. I do. But it's becoming, especially this year in 2018, as insane as it sounds, because Brady's numbers have been a bit pedestrian, because Brady is 41 years old, you look at this and go, what's keeping it afloat? Is it Brady or is it Belichick? Well, let me ask you this. If you take Tom Brady off of the Patriots, what is their record? Right? They're 9-4 right now with a defense that ranks near the very bottom in yardage. They just gave up 34, and I won't go 30. That's not maybe fair. 28. They gave up 28 points. They were 2 points away from giving up a 30 spot outside of the miracle last play to the 29th ranked offense in football. If you take Tom Brady off of this team, what's their record? Are they that much better than a 4-7, 4-8 type team? I mean, look at it this way. If you took Andy Dalton and put him on the Patriots this season with a battered Gronkowski, with a Julian Edelman who has struggled to find a groove, with a Josh Gordon who is still as good as he's been adapting to a new offense, with a left tackle in Trent Brown who has been awful for this football team. If you take an Andy Dalton and put him on that team, God forbid you go with the quarterback situation in Jacksonville. And that's a team that's got the other problem where they're the best defense in football, but their offense shoots itself in the foot so often they can't get out of their own way. If you take those types of situations at quarterback and put them in New England, what's their record? I would venture it'd be sub 500. With the way this team has been built, with the way this team has been utilized, I would venture it would be sub 500. I mean, we're talking about a team that has been so thin at running back as far as talent that they've had to put Cordero Patterson in. They've been so thin at wide receiver this season that fullback, 250-pound fullback James Devlin has lined up in the slot. Like, this team really, without the presence, the cool hand Luke-ness of Tom Brady, is not good. And that's where I think we got this answer today. Tom Brady is more responsible for the greatness of the Patriots than is Bill Belichick. And here we go. Like, look at just today. On the final play of the game, and I know you'll look at this and go, but Shea, they left 4 points on the field in kicking because Gostkowski missed an extra point and he missed a field goal. You'll go, what about the end of the second half when Brady took a sack instead of throwing the ball away? If you look at that play in replay, it was a bad play. It wasn't, oh my God, we should slander Brady because that was so bad. It wasn't that bad. It was a bad play, but dude, he got sacked. Like, he didn't have a ton of time to throw the ball. He didn't have a ton of protection. Again, Trent Brown, horrible. It was a bad time to take a sack, but at the end of the day, that's not why they lost. Like, they overcame these things. Gostkowski missed the extra point. Yeah. Then he missed a field goal. Yeah. Then Brady did this whole thing at the half where he took that sack when he should have thrown the ball away. Okay, that's 11 points that you left on the field. Yeah? Fine. Do with that what you will, but they overcame all of that because with 7 seconds left, they had a lead in that football game, a 5-point lead. 7 seconds. The game was over. They won it. And then for some unbelievably inexcusable reason, Rob Gronkowski played safety in a prevent set, a 3-deep prevent set in a non-Hail Mary situation. The Patriots played a Hail Mary defense for Ryan fucking Tannehill when he was on the 25-yard line. 31-yard line, excuse me, because it was a 69-yard touchdown, as Twitter so helpfully pointed out. We're in a non-Hail Mary situation. You put a guy who is gumpy, stocky, and slow to begin with at safety in a season where he hasn't been healthy one time all year. And you put him at safety in a non-Hail Mary situation. That's the part I can't stress enough. If it's a Hail Mary, sure, put Gronk out there because he's batting anything down in the end zone. But it wasn't. You knew what was coming. You knew you were getting some type of pass, hook, and ladder. And that's exactly what you got. And you asked Gronk to hold the corner against someone 3 times faster than him, 3 times more agile than him, 3 times quicker than him. And you asked him to hold the corner on a last-second miracle play, gadget bullshit play, backyard, schoolyard crap. You're asking Gronkowski, injured, big, slow, battered, to guard that corner. And what did he do? He stumbled, bumbled, missed the tackle, had no shot. Meanwhile, the fastest player on the team, that's measurable. That's not the fastest player on the defense. That's not the fastest player on the offense. It's not the fastest player on special teams. It is the fastest player on the team. And Devin McCourty wasn't even on the field. He's a natural safety. And instead, you put stocky, gumpy, slow, bumbly, stumbly Rob Gronkowski at safety and leave your best safety and your fastest player and one of your best open field tacklers on the sideline. It is an absolutely inexcusable move by Bill Belichick. And I'm not here to say that Bill Belichick is not a good coach. I'm not here to say that Brady has saved Bill Belichick over the course of a career. I don't believe that. I can troll on Twitter and know that I'm not being really genuine. I do think that Brady is more responsible for the greatness of this dynasty, the greatness of this franchise, than Belichick. I do. It's like an empirical fact at this point. You can point to any number of things. You can point to today's game. And it's almost a comedy of errors in the way that Brady made Belichick. And people go back and they go, well, Brady's a system guy. He blah, blah, blah. Dude, Brady is the system. There's a reason why every assistant coach who has left Belichick and copy-pasted the same system somewhere else hasn't found success. Josh McDaniels in Denver, no. Matt Patricia in Detroit, no. Bill O'Brien in Houston, having a really nice year this year, but just lost to the 6-6 Colts, probably not contending for the Super Bowl because they play in a horrible division and have played an awfully soft schedule in a 9-game win streak. That's damn impressive, but excuse me, I don't think you can beat the Patriots. I don't think you can beat the Chiefs or the Chargers. No. Like, what guy has taken Belichick's system, planted it somewhere, and had success with it? If Brady is such a system quarterback, if it's such an easy system, if it's so complimentary of a system, why doesn't every quarterback do it? And why doesn't every quarterback have 5 rings? Oh, it's because it's not a system, it's Tom Brady. It's not Belichick's system. Belichick's system is a comedy of errors that Brady has overcome. Belichick's system is losing the game today. Belichick's system is having such a thin rotation of offensive weapons that James Devlin lined up at wide receiver more than 4 times against the Lions. It's having an offense that just isn't really up to date. And it's a guy at the quarterback position who has been able to overcome all of that. We're talking about a coach who benched Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl and wasted a 505-yard passing performance from his quarterback. The greatest passing performance in Super Bowl history was wasted because of the Patriots defense, coached by, you guessed it. I don't care if Matt Patricia was coordinating. We know who picked those players. We know who gave Matt Patricia that scheme. We're talking about a guy who had an undefeated season lost because Ellis Hobbs played an island on Plexico Burress while Asante frickin' Samuel played a deep zone for Amani Toomer. Like that's what we're talking about. Brady made Belichick. Don't mistake it. Brady is not a system quarterback. He's not. He is the system. He is the system quarterback because it's his system and it's his play style and it's his team. And today, he had his best passing performance of the entire season. 360 yards, 3 touchdowns. Dude was vintage. Julian Edelman was vintage. Gronkowski was vintage. Yeah, Edelman ran some great routes. Gronk ran some great routes. Brady made some freaking amazing throws. This is a 41-year-old man who stood calmly in the pocket and delivered a 90-mile-an-hour strike for 30 yards to Cordero Patterson in a touchdown today. Dude played out of his mind. And it was wasted because Bill Belichick's handpicked defense gave up 28 points before a miracle play to the 29th ranked offense in football. That's it. That's why the Brady is a system quarterback takes annoy me so much. You know, you look at 4th and 2 in Indy. in that AFC Championship game. Instant classic. Again, a Belichick move that wasted an incredible performance. He failed to call timeouts properly in the 2011 Super Bowl. And I'm not saying, I could do the same thing for Andy Reid. But you know what the thing is? If Bill Belichick didn't have Tom Brady, Bill Belichick would be Andy Reid. He would be one of the brightest minds in football who cannot find a way to win. But because he has Tom Brady, that makes up for it. And that is the difference between being Andy Reid and being the greatest coach of all time, is Tom Brady. So don't tell me that Belichick made Brady. He didn't. Dude, he would be Andy Reid. He was 0-3 with Drew Bledsoe, and they won the freaking Super Bowl once Brady started. Dude was well sub 500 when he was coaching with the Browns. Well sub 500 his first year with New England. And then he won the Super Bowl because Tom Brady started. It's not coincidence. It's just fact. Sticking with football, switching gears a little bit. There has been a lot of talk in this state and really on the national media too about how great a larger college football playoff would be. And I agree to an extent. And it's a pretty simple extent. Look, they do this 3.5 hour stupid show on ESPN where they give us the top 6 teams. If you're going to make a show out of giving us the top 6 teams, then make it a 6-team playoff and just go with the best 6 and give the top 2 a bye week and run it. But there are problems with that. One, you have bowl games that are already meaningless. Like Ohio State going to the Rose Bowl, they didn't earn anything because they missed their goal of going to the playoff. There are teams that go to the Rose Bowl. Washington, same thing. Preseason starting top 4, right? Preseason, Washington was in the playoff. And they backed their way into the Rose Bowl because the Pac-12 ended up being a bomb. So, the Rose Bowl doesn't have the same value that it had when you had to win the Big Ten or you had to win the Pac-12 and go there. It doesn't. A lot of these bowl games don't. A lot of these bowl games are super meaningless. That's okay because we have the playoff, and it's okay because we have incredibly meaningful regular season games. College football is beautiful in that it's short. It's 12 games, dude. That's it. You got 12 games. You got 12 opportunities. That means one loss, you're done. In a 12-game season, every game is a playoff game. That's the beauty of it. And that's why people go, we need a longer playoff. No, we don't. You just need to stop framing it as the playoff is the only thing that matters. The playoff, every focus is on how cool the playoff is. Every game is a playoff game. Every single one. Michigan and Ohio State was a playoff game. If Michigan wins that game and then beats Northwestern, they're in the college football playoff. If Ohio State beats Michigan, they had a shot. It didn't work out, but that's how they got their shot. If they lose that game, they have no shot. Georgia, Bama, playoff game. It was. Georgia cannot go if they lose. We just saw it. Playoff game. Expanding to 6 interests me slightly because I think you appease the fans who want it to be bigger, and I think you can still have most of the meaning of the regular season games. You look at the 2 teams that got out. They're 2 teams that played playoff games. Georgia and Ohio State. Georgia lost to Alabama in what was a playoff game. Ohio State beat Michigan, beat Northwestern. You want to have an argument? Some people are debating. Georgia is the 4th best team in the country. Georgia deserved to be there over Oklahoma. And they go, Oklahoma's defense stinks. Georgia should be there over Oklahoma. Georgia's one of the 4 best teams. They're one of the only teams in the country that can battle Alabama the way that they did in the SEC championship game. Or they go, Ohio State, they beat the number 4 team in the country and won the Big Ten. Why don't they get a shot? Notre Dame's in there. They don't even have a conference championship game. Okay, so let's make it 6. That's easy. And give the top 2 bye weeks. And it really wouldn't affect the regular season. The only thing it would do is create 2 more meaningless bowl games. It would steal value away from more bowl games. But do we really care? We're already oversaturated. Cut some out. We already have to watch mid-major programs that have losing records battle in a bowl game. It just cuts them out. It's already an oversaturation. But here's the deal. When you go beyond that, you look at number 7 Michigan. They gave up 62 points in the last game that they played against the only offense inside the top 20 that they saw all season. So maybe they were a bit of a fraud. Does anyone realistically think Michigan is running into Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Clemson, or Bama and walking away with a win? I don't. We already saw them play Ohio State. We saw what Georgia did on a field with Bama. Do we really think Michigan's beating Georgia? I don't. UCF. No, thank you. People pimped that win over Auburn in the Cotton Bowl a season ago. But come on. Bowl games aren't what they used to be. An SEC team playing against a fluff opponent from a mid-major conference? No, it's a lose-lose for Auburn in that situation anyways. You beat UCF, it proves nothing. You lose to UCF, you lose big. It was a lose-lose for Auburn, so I'm not taking a ton away from that. Also, that UCF team was way better than this one, and this one doesn't even have their quarterback because Mackenzie Milton died on a football field. Washington at 9. Yeah, they don't got a shot. Dude, we've seen them bounce around the rankings all year. 3-loss team. You want to put a 3-loss team from a conference universally recognized as garbage in a playoff? No thanks. You look at, if you want to go 10 teams, number 10 Florida. Are you kidding me? And then I got to look at these graphics on Twitter, where they go 1 versus 16, Alabama, West Virginia. Who doesn't want to see that? Literally everyone in America. Like that game, maybe not the best example, because it just maybe could be interesting. But then you look at things like, why do we have to play these games over? You go Georgia, Bama. Again, we saw what Georgia did in a playoff game. They choked. They lost a 14-point lead. Like, that's it. But if you add playoff games, you're just demeaning the regular season. Not only are you going to get less interesting playoff games, because you look at the last 2 seasons, we've had shutouts. You know, Bama played Michigan State 38-0. Clemson played Ohio State 42-0, or whatever it was, 41-0. You'll get more of that if you let more teams in. We don't need more of that. We need more of the best teams getting in. That's why we don't need expansion. What we need to do is get rid of divisions so that the best teams in each conference play each other in conference championship games. There is absolutely no reason that Ohio State should have been playing Northwestern. Ohio State and Michigan were the best 2 teams in the conference. I know they already played. Let them go again on neutral field. Like, what do we have to lose from that? Probably hurts both their playoff chances, but both their playoff chances were pretty shitty after Michigan lost anyways, right? Big 12's got it right. You guarantee that the 2 best teams. The SEC has been lucky because I think Georgia and Alabama are the 2 best teams. But then you look at the ACC. Why the hell are we watching Pitt against Clemson? Come on. That's what you need to do. Get rid of divisions so that your 2 best Power 5 teams are playing each other in those conferences, in the conference championship games, and then frame them as playoff games, because they are. And if you make it a 16 playoff, guess what? You can really frame it like that, because every conference champion gets in. That's the only way I see expansion. That's the only way I see it being right. You make it an 18 playoff, doesn't really matter who wins between Ohio State and Michigan, because they're both going to the playoff anyway. So here's the issue for Michigan fans who are clamoring for expansion because they want a shot at a national title that they really don't have a shot at winning. You won't even realign divisions because you so badly want to protect a rivalry with Ohio State that you can't win. I had a buddy text me this week, and he said, I don't want the divisions to be realigned because I don't want Michigan to have to play Michigan State or Ohio State or Penn State or Wisconsin twice every single season just to win the Big Ten, like having to meet up with them again in the conference championship game. I said, dude, I wouldn't worry about the conference championship game. Michigan can't even get there. Like, you so badly want to protect your rivalry games that you are against realignment, but you want to expand because you want to be in the playoff, but you don't realize that it destroys your rivalry games because Michigan, Ohio State will mean absolutely nothing but bragging rights. You're both already going to the playoff. Same thing, Bama, Georgia. That SEC championship game, dude, they could have both rested. They're already in. They could have played third stringers and made us watch some bullshit JV game. They'd already be in. Like, that's the problem with expansion. You're just killing the rounds of the playoff you already have installed by default. It's not the playoff that's a problem. It's the public's perception with it that the postseason needs to be some big, huge event. We already had it in the regular season. Michigan, Ohio State was a playoff game. Ohio State in the Big Ten title game, playoff game. Georgia, Bama, playoff game. Clemson, Pitt, playoff game. Clemson can't lose to Pitt. Then they're out. Playoff game. The only issue is get Notre Dame's dumbass in a conference because it's not right that they don't play somebody while everybody else is in playoff games. But that's the issue. It's not a failure to have a proper system. It's not a failure of a system. It's not a failure to put the right teams in. It's just, dude, there aren't really more than 4 teams in college football that can win it all anyway, that are good enough to win it all anyway. 1. And 2, stop looking at the playoff with this insane, like, glowy-eyed look and just go, wait, we already had 3 playoff games. Whole season's a playoff. You can lose literally 1 game if you want to go to the playoff. That's it. Georgia, 2 losses. They don't get to go. You already played your playoff games all season long. Conference championship games, rivalry games. You want to protect them? That's your business. 1, I think it's funny Michigan fans want to jump to protect a game that they can't win. 2, I think it's funny that they reference how the division realignment would hurt the Big Ten championship. You can't get there anyway. And 3, I just think expansion's a silly idea. I think the way you have it now rewards excellent play. It rewards being a great team. And if you were to make it bigger, all you're doing is demeaning regular season games and rewarding more mediocrity. I mean, a 16-team playoff, you'd have 4 lost teams. Nobody wants that because they're not going to beat Bama. They're just not. And you can hate Alabama. You can hate the way college football is set up all you want with the recruiting. Look, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why they've won so many national titles. There's a reason why they've been to every iteration of the playoff. This doesn't need expansion. It's perfect the way it is because every game has the appropriate level of meaning. We get a really badass postseason event. It's perfect. Just let it be. Stop being angry. The other funny thing I noticed about this is the only people that cry for expansion every season are fans of schools that just barely missed. Ohio State fans, Georgia fans, Michigan fans. They're the only ones that are screaming for expansion. Everybody else, like, dude, it's fine. I don't need to see Michigan get stomped by Bama just to glorify the number of teams that get let in and make fan bases feel better. Like, this rewards being elite. That's the way it should be. That's a playoff. And you have playoff games built into the season. Okay, switching gears entirely to a different sport. Last thing I want to do today, the NBA Power Ranking. These are my rankings. I've watched more NBA this season than I have watched in my entire life. I signed my first contract in sports media to write about the Celtics, to cover the Celtics, and it's been quite a ride this season, and I'm loving it. Night in, night out basis, the NBA provides by far the highest entertainment value, and it's really just not close. And so I've listened to a few shows that do a few different power rankings. In different sports too, and I look at the power rankings and I go, sometimes you agree with them, sometimes you don't. And I said, fuck it, I'm going to do my own because I want to have my analysis on what I believe to be the top 10 teams in the NBA right now, today. And if you don't like what you get, feel free to blast me on Twitter and tell me that it sucks at Norling Shea. And just let me know what you think, where you're at. Give me your power rank. Throw it in your mentions. Tell me where I went wrong. Tell me what you think. What teams should be better. What teams should not be where they are. Whatever it is. But I'm going to go top 10, 10-1. We'll finish at the top. It's pretty obvious who's going to come in number 1. But number 10 for me in the NBA power rankings, the 10th best team, Indiana Pacers. Nobody's talking about them. They are absolutely flying under the radar, but they are holding strong, top 4 in the East, just playing pretty low-key good basketball. Like what the Indiana Pacers look to me like this year is like what the Spurs look like during their dynasty when they weren't championship caliber, where they were just like workmen. They might not win 60 games, but they're probably going to get to 50. They have a real good defense. They play fundamental basketball. They have a star guy in Victor Oladipo who is capable of carrying that team on any given night. And it's a team that's kind of where I'm at with them. I think they're 10. I don't know that they're a contender because this year, really, I think there's like 4 or 5 true contenders. And that's kind of my top 4 is the 4 teams that I view as potentially winning the NBA Finals. And the Indiana Pacers, they're just not one of those teams. They are one of the 10 best teams. I have them at 10. At 9, the Los Angeles Clippers. This is a team that started off really hot. And at one point, I saw some power rankings had them as like a top 5 team. I saw some guys had them as a top 3 team. It's a team that way overperformed their expectations. I mean, they traded Blake Griffin to the Pistons a year ago. Everybody thought they were dead in the water. It's rebuild time. They go and draft Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, who time to slap my own chest, but I was high on this guy all season, all summer, all season at Kentucky a year ago. I loved this kid. His length, his ability to guard at the point guard position, the way he plays, active hands. Dude, he's really good in the steal game defensively. And he's got a nice pull-up game. I love the kid. I love the way the Clippers have played with Boban. Tobias Harris has been absolutely excellent this season for them. I like the Clippers. Again, it comes down to, do I think you can contend? And that's where I'm putting teams at with this power rank. It's where you're at right now. It's, do I think you're a contender? Do I think you're a pretender? You kind of got to get into that top 4 if you want to be a contender. And the Clippers aren't there, but they are real close. Nobody saw this rebuild coming, and kind of it, as a Celtics fan, it pisses me off because Doc Rivers bailed on the Celtics rebuild to go to the Clippers, didn't win anything, and now he's staying for the Clippers rebuild, and it's working really well for him. But it is what it is. But they're my number 9. Number 8, the Denver Nuggets. This is another team that real recently was super high on this list, and I have to knock them because lately this week really, they fell. And it's a team that I like a lot with Nikola Jokic, really good basketball player, really good in the passing game as a center, just like the ultimate stretch big. He's been awesome. Gary Harris has been excellent for the Nuggets. They've really been a surprise team in the West, but I think they're coming back down to earth, as with a lot of the other teams in the NBA right now. And the team ahead of them is a team that I think is gaining steam and actually can break into the contention mold, but right now I can't do it for them. It's Los Angeles Lakers at number 7. And the reason, some people might say it's high, some people might say it's low. I think there's potential that they're the second best team in the Western Conference, but I'm not ready to say that. Dude, it's simple. Like, what do I have to say about the Lakers other than LeBron James? It's LeBron James. It's the LeBron James show. You look at the way that the Lakers have played the last few games. LeBron's had 50-point games, 40-point games, incredible nights where he's just putting on an absolute show if you're a Lakers fan. And so I look at the Lakers and I go, this is kind of the LeBron effect. I look at him, they're weathering the loss of Rondo. He'll be back. You look at Lonzo Ball, he hasn't panned out the way that a lot of guys thought he would. He'd be like an ultimate player. He's really more of a defensive guy. And when he's on the court, the Lakers are worse. Their net rating actually drops a ton when Lonzo's on the court versus when Lonzo's off the court. But again, this team is weathering a lot of that, and it's got to be on the back of LeBron James. And it's incredible what he's been able to do, like reviving Tyson Chandler's career. Tyson Chandler, when Lonzo's off the court and LeBron is on, is outstanding. Like a plus 60 or something ridiculous in his net rating. Dude's insane. They're playing really good basketball. I think they have potential to go even higher than this. It might be an Eastern Conference Finals between Golden State and the Lakers. And who wouldn't pay to see LeBron and Golden State go at it again? Especially in a new uniform, and especially not in the NBA Finals. Number 6, it's a team I think could really start to fall, the Philadelphia 76ers. People are going to think this is a low place to put them because they have Ben Simmons, because they have Joel Embiid, because they have Jimmy Butler. But that's why I'm putting them so low, because Jimmy Butler. Dude is an absolute cancer, and we're starting to see it. Now we have reports coming out that Embiid is not happy with his role since Butler's been here. Embiid is more of a stretch guy now. He's playing on the three-point line. It's not his style. His numbers have dropped a ton since Butler's arrival too. Team's been winning, but when they play any team better than 500, they've actually been losing. And yeah, they came here and beat the Pistons without Embiid, but whatever. The Pistons are showing their ass lately. That's why they haven't made the top 10, despite if I did this a week ago, I would have had them on there. But they've fallen a ton. The Pistons are a fake team. And so the Sixers coming in here and struggling to put them away, I know without Embiid, but Embiid really has been a non-factor since Butler came. I think the Jimmy Butler reunion is almost over. I think the honeymoon is on an exit, and I think the Sixers are going to be a lot worse off for this trade. You look at a Timberwolves team that's played a pretty strong schedule since getting rid of Jimmy Butler, and they have pretty much not stopped winning since that moment. Their loss in Portland, I think, set them back to 9-4 since the Butler trade, maybe 10-4. So we're looking at a team that is thriving without him, looks happy, playing better basketball. Karl Anthony Towns has been excellent. A lot of guys on that team have just excelled since Butler's been gone, and we're looking at a Sixers team that doesn't look a whole lot better, still struggling to find shooters. JJ Redick has not been good, so that's why I put him at 6. And that's kind of my list of pretenders right there. Indiana, LA, Denver, LA, and Philly. Now for the contenders. At number 5, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. Nobody is talking about the Thunder either. And it's interesting because they have a legitimate MVP guy on their team in Paul George. And I know that like Giannis has been amazing. Kawhi has been amazing. But Paul George is putting up an MVP candidacy. It's been really impressive to watch him work, especially in the span of time when Russell Westbrook was hurt. So I like the Thunder. The other thing about the Thunder this year, they are the number 1 team in defensive efficiency, and they're doing it without their best defensive player. When Andre Roberson is healthy and comes back to this team, they are going to be so good on the defensive side of the ball, it'll be scary. This is a scary team to watch going forward. They aren't allowing you to score. They aren't giving you easy paths to the basket. They're contesting damn near every three-point shot. When they get Roberson back and their switch everything defense is operating at the peak of its powers with Roberson, dude, this team's going to be very good. Now, the question becomes, when you get to the playoffs, when you get to crunch time, can you rely on Russell Westbrook to get the ball to Paul George to not shoot you out of games? We still don't know, because Russell Westbrook does have that propensity to shoot you out of the game. So we don't know where that's at right now, but if it can hold on, if the Thunder can continue to be the best defensive team in basketball, which they show no signs of slowing down, and again, they're getting their best defensive player back. This is going to be a good basketball team going forward. And if it comes down to Warriors Thunder in the playoffs, I think that's going to be a hell of a series. Number 4, this one's a little surprising. Some people had this team at 1 for pretty much the last 2 weeks. It's the Toronto Raptors. Kyle Lowry in the last 6 games has fallen off of a fucking cliff. That dude has completely disappeared. Here's his line in his last 6 games played. 1, in the last 6 that Kyle Lowry has played, they are 3-3. In the last 7 games total, they're 3-4. They've had a rough stretch here, and they've lost 4 out of 5 games. And you look at Kyle Lowry in the last 6 that he's played, 8.2 points, 28.6 field goal percentage, 25% from deep. He's only shooting 1.3 free throws a night, 87.5%, but you're not getting to the line. He's not driving well. He's not shooting well, but he's still shooting. The only thing he's doing well is passing. His assist number's at an 8.5, but his plus minus is only a 3.2. This guy has absolutely disappeared, and it's hurting the team. The same way it hurts the team when Kyle Lowry does his disappearing act in the playoffs, it's hurting the team right now. So for all the talk that Nick Nurse has been better than Dwayne Casey as head coach in Toronto, I don't know that that's necessarily true. Their record looks really nice. Not enough has been said about how easy of a schedule that they played. I think they had number 11. They were the 11th easiest schedule or something in that range that they played up to the start of the season. Everybody wanted to pile on Boston. Nobody wanted to talk about any of the flaws Toronto had because Kyle Lowry started the year hot. But he has come way back down to earth. And that shooting clip, 28 and 25, that's horrible. And that's going to need to change if the Raptors want to change and get back to winning basketball. Because 3 and 4 in their last 7 ain't going to cut it. When the Celtics in their last 7 are 6-1. And that is my number 3 team in the NBA power rankings. This is the one that I think is shocking. This is the one that even I struggled with putting them this high. But the basketball that they have played over the last couple of weeks has been outstanding. Most efficient offensive basketball team, highest offensive rating in the NBA. Despite the fact that 14 of their first 23 games were on the road, they still had the 3rd highest scoring margin in basketball. That has not changed. Now they're 6-1 in their last 7. They have a point guard who, opposite of Kyle Lowry, is playing out of his friggin' mind in Kyrie Irving. 20.4, 48.2, 41.7% deep. I mean, we're talking 48.2 field goal percentage. That's insane in this league. And then we're talking about a 41% shooting clip from 3-point. If you look at Kyrie's numbers since November 1st, he's as good or better than Steph Curry was in his unanimous MVP season in 2016. And he's keeping this team afloat. And then, by the way, they played against the Bulls without Aaron Baines and without Al Horford and beat them by 56. 56 points. That has happened exactly 3 times in the last 20 years that a team has had that big of a scoring margin. I don't care what team you're playing against. You could be playing against the Generals or the Harlem Globetrotters. You beat them by 56. This is a team, the Bulls, no matter how bad their 4-21 record is, this is an NBA team. That's 15 professional basketball players on a sideline that got beat by 56. The Celtics have moved up to 3. They have been playing some unbelievable basketball, and their point guard in the last 7 games is a plus 14.7, as opposed to Kyle Lowry, who's a plus 2. And there were takes that Kyle Lowry is better than Kyrie Irving this season. That has all been silenced. Celtics 1-1 against the Raptors this season. I think I put them ahead of the Celtics, or ahead of the Raptors right now. Boston Celtics are my number 3 team. But that leaves an Eastern Conference team to still be better. Number 2, the Milwaukee Bucks. Don't have to go very far with this one. Giannis Antetokounmpo has been amazing. Whatever you want to call him. Whether it's the Greek Freak, Alphabet Soup, whatever you want to call him, Giannis has been absolutely incredible. Must see every time they're on TV, every time they come to town. Must see basketball. Dude has been amazing. Here's the thing with the Bucks. Last year, they still had Giannis. Last year, they were still really good on offense. They were still really good on defense. They had a coach who was an idiot. So they replaced him with a coach who is alive and well and breathing. And they put him on the sideline, Mike Budenholzer, and he's fixed this team. This team shoots the 3 now. Last year, they didn't do that. But you have guys in Brogdon and Chris Middleton who have shot at a high clip. And you now have a team that is efficient from the 3-point line. And you have a team that doesn't settle for contested mid-range jumpers, like the Celtics do sometimes. You have a team that is just insanely efficient on offense and scoring more points than any basketball team we've really ever seen. The Bucks are insane. And a lot of it has to do with coaching. A lot of it has to do with Giannis. Giannis, to this point in the season, is unquestionably the most valuable player. I think it's cut and dry. This point in the year, absolutely, Giannis Antetokounmpo has to be the MVP. The number 1 team, you all knew it was coming. It's the Golden State Warriors. They've gotten healthy again. They've gotten Steph back. They've played good basketball. They're winning games. They are steady as she goes. Not a whole lot I can say about them other than the fact that they're just damn good. They are the greatest basketball team this league has ever seen, with the greatest point guard this league has ever seen. And I'm comfortable in saying that. I think we're at a point where it's almost universal. Steph Curry is probably the greatest point guard we've seen in the history of basketball. I'm willing to make that claim. That's my NBA Power Ranks. That's the Monday Mashup. Thank you guys so much for listening. Remember, follow on Twitter at Detroit Podcast for the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Follow at Norling Shea to follow me. Have a great week. Thanks for listening.